Hey everybody, Ben here from DMC Films and Cinder Studios. Welcome to the Elements of Design Part 2. Today we're going to be talking about shape and form. The elements of shape and form are the two elements that are used to really build up the elements in a scene. And while shape and form go hand in hand, they're not the same thing and should never be confused for one another. So what is shape exactly? Shape is built from lines. If you're not familiar with lines, check out part 1. And is usually referred to as things their length and their width and their general 2D flat ideas on a picture plane. Shapes can also kind of be shown from the space around different objects. We'll talk about this a little bit more in part 4 when we talk about negative space. But in general, you think about the outline around something creates a shape or an outline, and then the shape that exists because of that line. Another great example of this is how negative space can create silhouettes, especially when paired with light. You can see this a lot of times in my sunset paintings. Shapes can be geometric, circle, square, triangle. You can also have freeform shapes that might have curves and lines and aren't necessarily symmetrical either. But remember, shape is 2D. Form creates the idea of 3D. So wait, what is form then? Form is the understanding of an object in 3D space. Essentially, length, width, and depth, or the X, Y, and Z axes. We talked about this a little bit when I covered three-point perspective in the first video. Geometric shapes add a nice sort of interesting, distinct perspective to a piece, but aren't absolutely necessary to create depth. The main thing that creates form is going to be your lighting, essentially your shadows and your highlights on a particular object. Now in the next video we'll dive into value a little bit more, but here's a great example of how light and shadow can affect a 2D flat shape and turn it into a form. Imagining a circle as a sphere is a great way to practice value as well as start to understand form. With just a little bit of shading, you can turn that single flat image into a 3D form. And remember, a form is not just a single shape with filled in sort of textures and highlights and shadows, but a form usually contains other shapes and smaller forms. A great example of form in real life is your face, because it is one big shape but at the same time contains all these little shapes and filled out forms like your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. So remember, while shape and form are very similar, they are not the same thing. The easiest way to think about this is that forms are 3D and shapes are 2D. Shape is created by line and builds the foundation for everything else in a piece. And form, with shape, creates depth and life. And that just about sums up today's video. Remember to check back at the channel for part 3 of this series on value and texture. And this is Ben from DMC Films and Cinder Studios. Subscribe for more art videos and see you guys next time.